Hi students. So today we're going to talk about the past perfect tense. So this just means we're going to talk about a way in English to talk about past actions that happened before another past event, action, or time. So it just means that if this is right now, right, and this is the past, everything over here, it means that we're talking about something that happened in the past right here before another thing that happened in the past. So it's a way to talk about two things that happened in the past and how to talk about specifically the thing that happened before the other thing that happened in the past. So we're going to go over present and past perfect tense. So we've gone over present perfect tense, which is when we have the subject, have or has, and then we use that special past verb that we learned before. So I have lived in Utah for 10 years, or she has gone to the store, right? So for past perfect tense, it's a little bit easier because the only word that we need to use to show that's different from the present perfect tense is we just use the word had, right? So we just say the subject had and then the special past verb. So I had lived in Utah for 10 years until I moved, or she had gone to the store when I got home. So the important part that we're focusing on right now is just this section, this group of words at the beginning. Whenever we have the subject, had, and the special past verb. So I just wanted to review how we change things into the special past verb, right? And with irregular verbs, it's a little different, right? So for the simple form, the simple present tense, right? It's words like do, go, eat, give. But when we use simple past and it's an irregular verb, it means that we have to change the word. So do, when we use it in the past, we say did. But if we're using the special past verb, the past participle verb, or sometimes is what it's called, if we're using that special past verb, it completely changes into a different word, right? But it still means that we're talking about the past. So did and done are both just the past of do, right? Do is the present, and did and done are past. It's just done is a special past verb. So I listed all of these verbs so you can kind of start memorizing some of the irregular verbs and how to change them from just talking about the past to the special past verb, which is the one we use when we say I have or I had, if we're using past tense, right? So go, went, gone. Went and gone both are past tense, but went is just the simple past tense, and gone is the special past verb we use when we are using present perfect tense or past perfect tense or present perfect progressive tense or present perfect or past perfect progressive tense. So all of these, just to look at them, here's the simple form, the simple past, and then the special past one. So regular verbs are easy. You don't have to remember a completely different word. All you have to do is remember that you just keep an ed at the end. So if you said I had called, even though you're supposed to use a special past verb, it's the same as using the simple past verb. It's kind of confusing, but just remember regular verbs all you have to do is make sure they're in past tense. They got an ed at the end. Or, for example, this word tell, I tell a story. The past tense is told. I told a story. And the special past verb, it stays the same. It's just told, the past tense. So you can try and memorize those. Now we're going to focus on how to make the past present, or the past perfect tense. So all we need to do is we have our subject, just like always, the person or the thing that we're talking about. We use the word had, right? And then the special past verb. Now, we use had because it's the past tense of have, right? So we have the word have or has if we're using present perfect tense. But if we're using past perfect tense, had is the past tense of have and has, right? So have and has, when we talk about the past, it turns into had. Okay, so had is what's telling us that it's past tense, right? That's what the special past, we use the special past verb, but we can use that when we say have or has. But when we say had and then use a special past verb, that means we're talking about past tense, not present tense. So we would say, when I got home, he had finished making dinner. So we have he, which is the subject, the word had, and then the special past verb, finished. Because finish is a regular verb, so it means that we just add an ed. We had gone out after it was dark outside. We is the subject, we use had, and then gone. Gone is the special past verb of go. Go is present tense, right? Went is the past tense. But when we say gone, it just means the past tense of go. It's just a different way to say it, instead of saying went. The bus had left, then it started to rain. That's how we make it. The sun set when they had arrived at the beach. You, subject, had gone home when I got to work. So you had gone, right? She had eaten dinner before I got home. We used a subject she, we said had, and eaten. So that's why so this is how you make it. And it's kind of hard to understand, and if you're having trouble understanding this, that's okay. This is a very hard, very advanced way to talk about time with verbs. So if you don't understand it, that's okay. When we talk about she had eaten dinner before I got home, if we wanted just this sentence right here, if we wanted to say present perfect tense, we would say she has eaten dinner. So it's really easy to confuse the present perfect tense right here, the present, and then the past perfect tense. Because the only difference is that when you're making it, you use had for the past instead of saying have or has for the present. So now we're going to talk about what does it mean? Why do we use this in English? And kind of like present perfect tense, we're talking about something in the past that is important to what's happening right now, right? When we are using it in the past tense, the past perfect tense, it means that we're trying to talk about something in the past that happened, and another thing in the past that happened. So we use it when we're talking about two things that happened in the past, right? So, and kind of, it's not really important to right now, but it's important to talk about these two past events, these two actions that happened in the past, and that this one happened before this one. And so that's why we use it. So for example, I have the sentence, I had gone for a run and then my brother came over. So I just have times to show you, just to help you understand what this means. So when I say I had gone for a run, means in the past, right? Because I said I had gone. So boom. When I'm talking about going for a run, I had gone for a run, that's the thing that I did. That's the action. That's in the past. And because I used had, it means that it came before the next thing. So then it says, I had gone for a run, then my brother came over. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I went for a run. I had gone for a run. At 12 p.m., at noon, my brother came over. So when we say that I had gone for a run, then my brother came over, it's making sure that what I'm saying is both of these things happened in the past, but we need to make sure that we let people know which one came before the other one. Did I go for a run first and then my brother came over, or did my brother come over and then I went for a run? So that's why we use I had gone. When we say I had, or when we use had and the special past verb, it tells people that this action that happened, this verb, this action happened first, and then the next thing happened. But instead of saying, I went for a run first, then my brother came over, you would say, I had gone for a run and my brother came over. So that's saying, I had gone for a run, this thing happened first, and then my brother came over, and that it all happened in the past. Another example to help you understand it better is this sentence. My husband had finished making dinner when I came home. So 4 o'clock p.m., right? 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My husband started making dinner. So this is him making dinner. At 5 p.m., he finished making dinner. So he finished making the food. And then at 5:05 p.m., so just 5 minutes later, I got home. So this is the timeline. This is the times that things are happening. And when I say my husband had finished making dinner, I'm telling people when I say my husband had finished making dinner, I'm saying he finished first and then I got home. So when I got home, right? So when I got home, my husband had finished making dinner. So this thing happened first. My husband finished making dinner when I got home, right? So it's two things that happened in the past. I got home in the past and he finished making dinner in the past. But he finished making dinner first and then I got home. So that's why we use had. My husband had finished making dinner, meaning this part happened first. And the reason it's important to use had, and the reason it lets us know that it happened first, instead of just saying that at the beginning of the sentence, is that sometimes our sentences can have the thing that happened second in the past come at the beginning of the sentence, like this one. The sun set when they had arrived at the beach. So which thing happened first? Well, since it says they had arrived at the beach, we know that because they used they had, that means that they got to the beach when the sun set. So the sun set right here, but they got to the beach before. So they had arrived at the beach when the sun set. So the sunset was second, and they got to the beach first, right? Even though the sentence says that the sun set, it's at the beginning of the sentence, it comes first. But because they use they had arrived at the beach, that lets us know they had arrived at the beach when the sun set. So this is another way, just if that wasn't making sense, another way to understand it. So we use the past perfect tense when we talk about an action that happened before another action. And that's why it's important, because you're talking about two things that happened separately, two different things, two different actions. And you're making sure that people understand that this action came before this action, but they both are in the past. So that's what's important. So if you said, I had driven to the store when my mom knocked on my door. So if the present is right here, and both of these things are in the past, right? Because it says driven, that's past tense, that's a special past verb. And it says my mom knocked on my door. Knocked, right? My mom knocked on my door. This is past tense too. So which one happened first in the past? That's why we use I had. I had driven, this happened first, and then my mom knocked on my door. So I had driven to the store and my mom knocked on my door. This is all happening in the past, but this one, driving to the store, I had driven to the store, happened before my mom knocked on my door. So now we're going to go over how to make them negative. We have the subject, had, and you use the special verb. That's how you make it normally. But if we want to make it negative, we just say, the subject, who or what we're talking about, and then we say had not, and we use the special verb. We had left for work. To make it negative, you say we had not left for work. My family had moved. That means yes, my family had moved. My family hadn't moved. That means no, it's negative. And remember that hadn't is the contraction, the squished together word of had and not, right? So remember contractions. I had is I'd, she had is she'd, it had doesn't get squished together. You can only say it had. He had is he'd, we have, we'd, they had, they'd, you had turns into you'd, or had not can be hadn't. And those are some of the contractions. So she'd moved before I started working here. She'd moved before I started working here. She'd is she had. She had moved before I started working here. So if this is the present and this is when I started working here and this is when she had moved, right? We know that she had moved before I started working here. I hadn't learned a lot of Spanish before I moved to Puerto Rico. So if you say I hadn't, it means I had not, right? I had not learned a lot of Spanish before I moved to Puerto Rico. And that's how you use it with contractions, is you just use it with words that are squished together. So I had not learned a lot of Spanish. So people pretend that this hand is me and I didn't learn a lot of Spanish. I hadn't learned a lot of Spanish, and this is me when I moved to Puerto Rico. I hadn't learned a lot of Spanish before I moved to Puerto Rico. So this is me not learning Spanish, learning a lot of Spanish, and then this is me moving to Puerto Rico. I had not learned a lot of Spanish before I moved to Puerto Rico, right, in the past. Now, this is how you make questions. You have the subject, you have had, and a special verb, but to make it a question, we just put had at the beginning of the sentence. The same as all the other ones that we've learned. To make it a question, you just flip them. So had, and then the subject, and then the special verb. So she had eaten dinner turns into, had she eaten dinner? Now, to make questions, we have another one, another sentence. This one's really long, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to change it into a question. If I said, they had left for the meeting before you left for lunch, and I wanted to make it a question, this is a huge sentence. How do I make it a question? The only thing I have to do is move had to the beginning of the sentence. Had they left for the meeting before you left for lunch? And that's it. Had they left for the meeting before you left for lunch? And that's how you turn it into questions. And that's it for today, and I will see you next lesson.